probably the best way to start would probably be talk about the history of our experiences with it, which movie we saw first, if our love grew with it, or if it's just been okay whatsoever. But Caleb, I'll let you go first. What was your first experience with the Scream franchise?
That'd be the first Scream movie. I did not see it in theaters. I saw it on VHS, rented from Blockbuster. Um, I remember I really liked Wes Craven because of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise when it came out. I mean, I'm 6, 7 years old at the time, and I knew that that was him. Uh, but I was too young to fully grasp what Scream was at the time. I enjoyed the movie because I liked movies, but I didn't dive back into the Scream franchise again until I was probably 12 or 13. And it was the first Scream movie that really, really dug into me because that's what I was raised around. It was very 90s esque. The cast was like what we saw everywhere when we were younger. Um, and they did a really good job of paying credit to all of these previous horror slashers. Um, and honestly, as the franchise grew, Scream 2, I remember I didn't really like at first. Scream 3, I was highly disappointed because there was a huge rumor that Stone Cold Steve Austin was going to be in the movie, and it was all over the place, and that is the only reason my brother and I rented it. He was not in the movie, and this was before that kind of news was just blogged about all over the place online. You couldn't just go to Facebook and find that out. You had to dive deep into like film chat rooms to get this info. And we rented it, we find out he's not in it, and severely disappointed. By the
You
time
got you
Scream
got
4,
well, Scream 3, man. You got Silent Bob and Jay and Silent Bob. So I mean, there's that, right? That's
I,
about that'll do, right? And you got Carrie Fisher. No, okay.
that's not Stone Cold Steve Austin. Also, by the time we got to Scream 4, I had zero interest in Scream 4. Absolutely none. I watched the movie. Eh, um, felt like an unnecessary sequel to a franchise that I really only need the first movie, maybe the second. Um, the TV shows, I do not have the time to dedicate to a spin-off TV show that was made for like VH1. I can't do it. I
It was
won't do it.
it was better. It was better than I thought it was going to be. And the mask that they have, that's not the traditional Ghostface because they didn't have the rights. The mask and like the raincoat slicker thing that he's running around in, he or she, I guess, depending. Anyway, um, it's freaky. Like it actually kind of makes it more like this natural, this normal person would go out and like this is the kind of stuff they would wear if they were trying to make a killer outfit. Like not something as kind of clean pressed and as store bought as that. Kind of felt a little more
Yeah.
gritty. The dialogue was good, kind of felt like Scream, and it kind of started and did its own thing away from the original franchise, which was kind of fresh. And man, oh man, does it have some blood, guts, and gore. Like, there's some serious large chainsaw sequences, and it goes for it. And, it's a guilty
I just
pleasure. It's something that I don't think a lot of people need, but it's good overall.
I couldn't get into it. Real quick, rewinding back to Scream 4. I have to say that I have some issues with the movie, but Rory Culkin is not one of them. That dude needs to do a lot more horror. I've got a few of his indie horror movies that he did. He needs to keep going. He needs to just double down and keep doing it. He's doing awesome. The rest of the movie was unnecessary. Scream 5, where we're at today, I feel about the same as I do about The Matrix.
I know.
It
Well,
it
hang on.
doesn't need to happen.
Hang on. I know. Hang on. We'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah, so for me, mine started off in '96. My brother, who's here possibly listening, he was dating this gal who was a big horror fan, and my brother was not. But he was down for whatever, so he watched a lot with her. And one time I was up to visit him. It might have been the first time I'd ever come up to visit him in college. So at the time, I think I was 9, maybe 10. And I'd already seen like Silence of the Lambs and Misery, right? But I hadn't seen like a
Mhm.
true slasher yet. I can't remember if I watched. I think I want to say I watched Child's Play 2 before I saw Scream, but it was one of those
Yeah.
things where I was young enough to where the opening scene of Scream was so good, and it messed with me until like I was like still stunned until Ghostface showed up again, and then like that would catch me, and like then it was just like this whole thing, and then I finally started liking Randy and the rest of them, like how it was kind of strange on how they had like a childhood excitement for what was happening, and like they couldn't believe it. Like the teacher gets strung up by the goalpost, right? And they're like, let's go see it, and like everybody's having a good time. The energy of the movie, even at a young age, sucked me into it. And I just thought, man, I hope I'm half as cool as these guys, even though I knew I was never gonna be able to grow my hair out like Skeet Ulrich. But loved the first movie from the first time I watched it. And then we got done watching it, and I just remember like at the end of the first movie when like she's running around trying to get help, but they're out in the middle of nowhere, and it felt kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, how you cannot get away from the house, like you have to go back to the house for safety or for whatever reason. And just the ruthlessness at the end as a kid, I just thought, wow, this is good stuff. And like the friendship, the twists, like just really well done. And I got done with that, and my brother, I don't know if he was just trying to make out with his girlfriend and wanted to get rid of me for a little while. Like he told me, hey man, here's a couple bucks, go get some sodas, okay? So I go out there, and like he's in the little dorm cul-de-sac houses thing, so they're like small and they're like little 4 duplexes or whatever, quadplexes. And so I go, he's like, just go here, there, and the other place, go get us some Cokes. I get lost halfway through it, and then it starts to rain. And then after I found these Cokes, I'm trying to find my way back, and there's this dude on the front porch smoking a cigarette in like a really dark poncho with his head covered. And I mean, I was like, I bolted to like the next like closest door I could find and just knocked on the door, and thank God they actually knew who my brother was. And then I got delivered to my brother like this little idiot. Like, but it was raining. I was freaked out. There's this guy in this. Yeah, I was like, so it freaked me out, and I love it. And what's funny is like my brother also, his roommate when he went to his 4-year college, his roommate had Scream too. This is back in the days where like I'm pretty young. At this stage in my life, I can't get rated R movies, but I was into that stuff. So like Dylan was off at basketball practice, and I just sat there and I watched Scream 2, and kind of like you, I'm like, I don't really think even as a kid, I was like, I don't really think you need to make a sequel to this movie. Like it just doesn't feel like it's something that needs to go. But I sat
Yeah.
down and I watched it, man, and I'll tell you that this is something nobody really talks about. The suspension in the scene when they're the taxi. By the way, we should have said this earlier, but this is gonna be full of spoilers, like galore. Just that's dumb to say, but I just wanted to say it. But when they wreck that taxi and they have to climb over
Dude.
Ghostface, as a kid, I was like, this is the most tension in a movie I've ever seen, and even more than I like because I'd already seen Misery with like the hobbling scene. I was like the whole time I was on the edge of my seat. Like that's like Scream. The first one's scary. Second one's not scary to me, but the tension in the second one's good. Like when they're going through those like sound panels and stuff. I just that's like really good stuff. And then the love story between Courtney Cox and Dewey I really liked in the first 2 movies. I love Dewey's intro in the second movie. That doon 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 doon. He gets a bit of a redemptive, like he goes from the dummy to the guy who's drops everything for his friend, and he's looking for a redemption really. I love Scream 2. It's not necessary, but I think that the killer, the family, that's what this franchise mostly is built on. It's family and friendship. And the fact that, it's Billy's mom coming back in the sequel where he's got kind of a messed up family situation. Sidney's mom wrecked his family. She left. His mom comes back to avenge her. It always kind of comes back to her mom. Sydney's mom. So I think it plays. I thought Mickey was a little bit of a stretch, but I mean, she went looking for this psycho. It makes sense that you could probably find one if you're really trying. You had some money, a young impressionable mind. He wants to be famous. He's into movies. You know, like it really plays for me. So, is it a little weak? Yeah. Was it a rush script? I mean, the first movie came out in '96. Second movie came out in '97. I mean, as soon as this thing started making money, they greenlit it. Something I want to bring up in a little bit. Hopefully, I'll remember. I got some notes. Randy dying in the second movie felt right at the time. Like it felt like the stakes are higher and like anybody could go. Maybe this is it. Maybe they're not going to continue with this franchise because I mean franchises, especially horror franchises, were a big thing. But you know, as a kid, you just never know how many of these things are going to get. I mean, I know what you did last summer technically got 3, but really it only got 2, which it's not the same thing as Scream. I'm just saying, right? But anyway, so something later I want to bring up is like, should Randy have lived through Scream 2? Should Randy have even been in Scream 2? Should he have died in 3? There's some questions I want to ask you here in a minute, but real quick, I want to see Jabari's here. Rory Culkin for Leon S. Kennedy. I didn't like the guy they picked. Leon S. Kennedy? For Leon S. Kennedy. Who's Leon S. Kennedy?
As soon as he says it, we're both going to feel stupid, and I know that. But I don't know. Favorite Holly Hunter line? Yeah.
Dylan says, I remember this story. Yeah, man, you just left me out there. Dylan just left me out there. I could have died. Okay? And then, nope, I won't get into that. I won't get into that because there's more stories.
Okay, is that the new Resident Evil?
It must be. Because I don't think there is a... Is there Kennedy in the... I don't think there is. Huh.
I can only think of the main characters in the first 2 of the OG movies. But Rory Culkin's in this movie called... Oh, God, where is it? Hold on. Jack Goes Home, and also in this film called Intruders. Both of these were Dollar Tree pickups, and they are both really good. Like I can't believe that they fell under the radar for so long for me, but as soon as I saw them, I happened to catch them both in Dollar Tree, and I was like, yep. Yep.
I remember the buzz for the Intruders. I just never got to it, and it was never on Netflix. And there's only so much I can hunt down, only so much time. But
there's like 3 or 4 movies called Intruders that all have a different plot than the way this one plays out. There's one with Dude from Grounded for Life that is a little bit like Supernatural-esque, and that one is weird too. I'm saying it might be a good pick for Leon, but I like the pick for the... Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
I would love to see him in more stuff, absolutely.
I still need to see
There's also an Intruder with the... There was also the Intruders with the mom and the daughter or whatever, where the mom just goes ham on him halfway through. Like, she's like this mom that won't take attitude and like just goes nuts on him. I've been wanting to see that one too, but anyway, going on to Scream 3. Scream 3, I was actually more pumped for Scream 3 than I was with Scream 2. A little older. It came out in 2000, so at this time I'm 13 or 14, whatever. I took my little cousin to see it because I had the hookups at my home theater. And we just loved it. It felt bigger. They were moving around Hollywood. It felt more mature, like they'd grown up and they were, it really set in what had happened to them. You know what I mean? They're falling into their roles, some good, some bad. Dewey and Gale have fallen out. It really did feel like a movie that wasn't needed. That's the problem with this franchise. Like, every one is just a movie that's not really needed. First one did and said all it really had to do, right? You know what I mean? But I know a lot of people bash 3, but the only thing about 3 I don't like is the voice changer. I think the voice changer is pretty weak. I wish they would have found a way around that.
Real quick, I want to point out, because I had a note on that, actually. With the third one, this being a solo killer in the film who maybe didn't have time to prep to find the right voice changer, stuff like that, I can kind of work with that. It does sound goofy, though. but I can work with the fact that it's a different killer with a different voice changer. So that doesn't bug me as much.
It kind of adds to it because it's the whole voice telephone, tormenting you it kind of plays with it. I think that's another thing I really love about Ghostface is that he does talk, not as much when he's just running around, but when he's got the voice modulator thing, he's up there with Freddy. He's up there with Leprechaun and Chucky. Like when he talks, it's scary. Like, you are in danger. And it's just, it's got that voice where it's like, sometimes it sounds suave and charming, and sometimes it just sounds nasty and gruesome and freaky. It's got some range to it and got some work. I know the same guy did it for the first 4 movies. I don't know if he's still alive. I feel bad. I'm not sure if he's the one that died or if I'm just thinking of the old trailer guy. I know he died. But anyway, I like Scream 3. I'm trying to think about how much I want to go into this because it kind of adds to something later. Hang on. Well, I'll just say it here. Like, well, the reason why I'm going to go forward to come back. The reason why it's obviously this will fall in my ranking, and ranking a Scream franchise is like the easiest dumb thing to do on the planet. Like I could tell 95% of people what their rankings are, but number 4 is my least favorite because it has a weird cinematography. It feels disjointed. It feels the most unnecessary out of all of them. And the killer's motivations are weak sauce more than they've ever been. And I think the key, like there seems to always be a key to a formula that unlocks the door that says, yeah, this works, or no, this really doesn't work. Like we were talking about last week or whatever it was with Candyman, when we kind of discovered that key that's like, no, that's why you can do all this. The reason why Scream 4 doesn't work for me and is kind of a waste of time is it doesn't develop the characters very well, and the old characters. It doesn't really develop the new characters very well either. But the biggest part is that it misses the idea that the Scream is made up of the original characters, the Scooby Gang, and it's made up of the killer, which it needs to originally tie into Sidney's mom somehow, some way. Like, that's why 1, 2, and 3 work. The original killers all tie back into Sidney's mom. Her mom kicked off all of this. And then that's why I think 3 works a lot for me, because Roman's the one that got it all started. It all started with her mom and expands more on why her mom was the way she was, and like how everything that impacted her life or how everybody else that impacted her, how that destroyed her life, in like a secret behind the scenes thing from her family, and how that destroyed her family life and other people's family lives. And all that makes the franchise a little deeper. And that's not in Scream 4. Like the friendship is the weakest, the family is the weakest, the comedy and the hipness is the weakest.
Interjection. Scream 5 probably won't have that either. And backing away.
Well, I know what could be a little bit of a spoiler. It could have just been somebody talking out the side of their face. I don't know. There's very few ways, in my opinion, that you can make Scream 5 work. And I don't want to see it go the meta route. I don't want it to be like, surprise, like, really, we like all these movies don't really exist, and which I mean, they obviously they don't. But I don't want them to be like, we're filming Scream 5 and then something serious happens or all this. I've said since the beginning, if Matthew Lillard doesn't come back to be the killer, I'm not going to be really that interested. And I'm just not. This new movie needs to be more, and we're kind of skipping forward again, but this new movie needs to be more than just somebody else that loves the franchise of movies. It needs to be more than just somebody wants to be the new Ghostface killer and try to kill Sidney or have a reason to kill people. Like, it needs to have, it's like how Randy was saying in Scream 3. He was like, the true trilogy is about going back to the past and unraveling everything and finding out that you don't really know what you know. Like, it's digging deeper. This new movie needs to dig deeper. It needs to connect to the rest of them. Otherwise, it will feel disjointed again. And I don't want to see something where at the 5 minutes into the movie, you can see that they deleted 2, 3, and 4, and that's why they're calling it Scream. Call it Scream 5. Stop calling it Scream. Halloween, Texas Chainsaw, stop it. Stop it. Friday the 13th. Just put a little asterisk in there.
Watch. They're totally gonna retcon everything except like the first movie and like season 3 of the show, and we're all gonna be in there like, you did what?
We'll just go ahead. I mean, like I said, Scream 4 is probably the weakest, but since we're already rolling into this, we'll go into our rankings here in a second. We'll rank the movies, but Scream 5, I just, it's my favorite franchise, and like there's very little hype for Scream 5. Like, you saw Halloween, every horror channel on the planet won't shut up about Halloween. They're still talking about Halloween Kills. They're talking about Halloween Ends already. They talk about Halloween 4 to 5 times more than they've talked about Scream. Scream is, it's kind of done because for as meta as it is, it never could, like, people still die in it. They're still, you know what I'm saying? It never has lived up to what it could be after the first movie.
And that's the thing. The first movie was so well done. It needed so little. There's nothing that you could really add or subtract from it to make it a better film. And it came out at the perfect time. I think that part of what makes the first movie great is that the ghost face can be anybody. Like, that was a really good part of the film. But as they go on, you learn, oh, it's somebody related to somebody. Like, at that point, it's pulling a Halloween. Oh, it's this person by blood, this person by blood, this person by blood. It's getting a little overdone, just like every other horror franchise that gets multiple entries does. I think that this one is going to fall a little bit stale because it's only got 2 ways to go. It can try and pull a Scream 2 or 3, or it can try and pull a Scream 4, which neither of which are really necessary unless, like you said, if Lillard came back, I think that would make horror fans feel like how people felt with the Spider-Man No Way Home spoilers. Like, you just be like, yes, and
I think it's too easy though, because all the fans, like even me, that's all we want is Stu to come back. So like, if you give it to him, there's not going to be like this oh moment. We're going to go, oh cool, yeah. Like, we're not going to be like, whoa, like, you know, it won't blow your mind.
But that's the other thing. Lillard is kind of a staple to a lot of horror fans, a lot of comedy fans. I mean, even just horror fans, because we were raised with things like Scooby-Doo. He's been around in our lives at different levels of film. Like SLC Punk, you've got Scooby-Doo, you've got Scream. You've got this dude who has this way of comedy and this way of serious, but he's entirely relatable in every role he's done. So bringing him back, I think, would make a lot of horror fans happy and super stoked.
There's not been one movie he's been in that he didn't steal the show.
Yeah. I honestly don't know if they're going to do it, though. I feel like that's too easy of an answer, and that would make too many people happy. Like, I just get this feeling like I don't know.
My guess is, and nobody said this that I know of. My guess was either Billy's dad, because he lost his ex-wife, he lost his son. So Billy's dad was one of them. And then I had Jamie Kennedy, possibly, because he's a fan favorite. Because, I mean, you saw him die. He was very dead. But at the same time, you could pull some movie magic and maybe make it work. And then, yeah, I mean, if they bring back Skeet Ulrich, like, I'm going to probably roll my eyes so hard they'll pop out of my brain. Like it just, I don't know.
I think that would be the best choice, but honestly, I'm afraid it's going to be one of these new teen kids.
Yeah, I'll tell you, like, I got to be honest too. Like, I'm not sure how much. Well, I don't know. Like, I want a good killer. Like the way
Yeah.
this trailer positioned Ghostface, I like it. It's different. I like how Ghostface runs around and he's kind of slipping around and stuff like that because the outfit's very slick. Like it feels real. Like if you were in that outfit, you wouldn't be able to see a lot. You wouldn't be able to grip the knife very well, and you'd probably be flipping and flopping all over the place, right? I like how they make it feel like, yeah, this is just a dude in an outfit that's crazy enough to come after you. I do like that, but I do like how this new trailer is building him up to be more than just, you know what I mean? Like rolling up behind people really sneaky, kind of doing a bit of a different flavor. Like you might get a little bit more
Yeah.
straight slasher. I like that. So we'll see. Like I said, but I know
I'm,
everybody's calling for the original three to die, like, or at least somebody. I feel like you could kill Courtney or Dewey because like the relationship's been rocky since the third movie. Like, you know, it's been like on again off. Well, I mean, it's been really rocky since the beginning, technically, but it just doesn't feel right. Now that they're divorced and they probably don't want to be in the same room, like it's probably one
I
of them are gonna die. I feel bad for saying this, but I don't care if Gale dies if it's done right, but I bet they kill off Dewey for shock value.
I've heard people say that they put money on the fact that either Dewey or Gale are the killer, and I'm like, yeah, no. I feel like they're gonna use Dewey as like a red herring situation, though. They're gonna try and make it look like he is. I do kind of get that from the trailer, like the kind of scruff, the like living in a place that looks a little bit run down, and it's kind of like those little signs, like maybe it's him. Um, but I don't think he would be, and I really don't think Gale would be the killer, like at all.
Yeah, I don't. You could spin it to where I believe that Dewey could be the killer, but like I said, the one of my favorite parts about the second one is Dewey. Like just
Yeah,
the way he's there to sacrifice him there. He's there for his friend. Like he's already been hurt and almost killed. And what does he do? He throws himself right in the line of fire again, right? Like he goes back and he's a cop again. Like he's the average goofy guy, but he's always willing to go in there. Like how many times has he been stabbed and hurt? Like you know, it's almost a joke. But in the third movie, he makes every
yeah,
time this dude enters his room, he ends up a damn shish kebab. Like
yeah.
it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. No, nobody was asking for this movie. That's the biggest problem. Like, and I hope it does well. I love like this is my favorite franchise, and I'm not excited, and nobody else is excited. Like they're excited, they're gonna pay their money, but nobody's losing their freaking minds over this movie.
No, I think another thing is right now there's a wave of getting the originals to return, and if Wes Craven was still here and somebody was able to get him attached to the project, I feel like there would be a little bit more hype, like there was when John Carpenter announced that he would have some hands in Halloween. It would be like if somebody
He
from
actually had
Friday the 13th.
he he had two sequels planned after 2014's 2011. Oh, 2011, whatever it was. 2014. It doesn't matter. He had two more sequels planned after that, but after poor box office, he ended up not doing it. And then he passed away a couple years later. But yeah, so I
Yeah.
mean, there were plans.
But at that time, that wasn't as big of a deal. But now, and the fact that horror's become more mainstream with the release of Halloween, people would eat that up. Um,
Yeah.
but also, Scream 4.
So let's now that we've kind of talked about we've talked about Scream 5. Really, I mean, there's like I said, like there's just not a whole lot to talk about because like we're both like, yeah, we want to see it, but don't have a whole lot of faith in it. Weren't asking for it.
Yeah.
Like, and if it doesn't, I've come to terms with one of them might die, and if Gale dies, I'll be okay. If it hurts a lot. It hurts a lot. Like if Sydney dies, it's gonna hurt a lot, especially depending on how she goes out, because she's just such a warrior. By the fourth movie, she's not even flinching. She's running into the house, straight up kicking
Yeah.
Ghostface in the face to where he's got to run away. Right? Like she has become the final gal ever. So if she goes out and
Yeah.
it doesn't feel earned, it would almost be better if something like she fakes her own death at the beginning of the movie or something like that. Like she gets Kincaid and the police officers to like fake her death and she comes back at the end or something. But anyway, but if they kill Dewey off, man, I don't know why I just attach myself so much to that character, and I think it's because I love David Arquette. But anyway, let's go on to let's rank the franchise as it is, and then I'm going to ask you a question at the end of it. Caleb, go ahead and rank the franchise or rate. Yeah,
So the 4 films, so there's only 1 through 4. My number 4 spot is actually, and this is just barely, it's going to make John mad, and I don't care, is Scream 3. Just
I get it.
barely.
That's 99% of people.
It's better than Scream 4 on some rights, but personally, I can sit through Scream 4 a little bit easier than Scream 3.
I get it. Yeah,
Scream 3 is
that's it.
but really campy. Really
Scream 3
campy.
is everybody's least favorite.
So am I ranking all of them, or are you going?
Yeah, well, yeah, you go ahead. You go ahead.
All right.
Go through the thing.
Third spot, Scream 4. That these two are like, it doesn't really matter. Scream 4. Honestly, I do like the tonal shift just a little bit, and the reason being is because it's no longer 1996. The way Scream 2, and Scream 3 were shot, it was very 90s pop culture. Like, you could feel that influence throughout the movies. Well, now it's 2011, 2014. We can't figure out what year it was. I'm sure somebody will comment and tell us we're idiots. It fits. I mean, you had the Halloween reboot, you had the Friday 13th reboot, the Texas Chainsaw reboot by now, and they all went for a darker tone. The 2 things that I give Scream 4, number 1 is Rory Culkin. Like I said before, I don't care. That dude is awesome. He needs to do more. And the second thing is I appreciate that they made fun of reboots. It was the first horror movie that like took into account, okay, we're going to sequel the originals and we're going to show that remakes aren't necessarily what we should do. So I really appreciate that a lot. That brings us to number 2. That'd be Scream 2. Personally, I do agree. I think that Scream 2 is actually, it's a very tense movie. That taxi scene, hands down, is one of the most tense moments for a thriller, for a horror film, anything like that, because you don't know what's going to happen. It's rough. It's hard to watch because you're really good. So if you haven't seen Scream 2, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. There's some camp, there's some fun, there's some bad. But I also think that it establishes our 3 main characters really well. Which brings us to the top, Scream. I mean, it was done best there. It didn't need a sequel. It hit the comedy, the horror. It honestly, it was a perfect film for the time that it came out, and it still holds up in my opinion.
Yeah, the first one's a masterpiece. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, the chemistry between everybody, the time it came out, the rock and roll, and everything. And I mean, from what's his name, the writer Williams, and then from obviously the great Wes Craven. Yeah, it just came out, and it came out at a time where it came out of nowhere. It could have easily been a flop. Like this was a gamble for. I mean, and everybody says this. It's when horror was dead. Yeah. The more horror had never been as dead as it was since its creation. Maybe after the monster movies got beat to death after the 40s. Maybe if we were back then, you could say maybe he's in the 50s and 60s, maybe.
Sorry, excuse me. And Wes Craven was one of the ones who felt that loss with Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Like, he put out that movie and it didn't do that well. So he already went meta with that. It was a huge gamble, and I feel like he had to know that. Last Action Hero was one of the first big meta movies, and it flopped hard. Yet,
Yeah.
if you go back and watch it, I think it really had good bones for a full-on like franchise, and that really sucks. But apparently people were ready for meta in 1996. I don't know.
It's weird. It's something that I was talking about this with my brother. It's something that if you're going to do meta and you're going to do it right, you need to beat people over the head with how it's going to be meta. Like the trailers need to get you ready for it. The opening of the movie needs to get you ready for it. Like Friday the 13th Part 6, when Jason walks out, basically like Bond, you know you're in. Like there's a resurrection like Frankenstein. Like you know you're in for a serious, like this is not to be taken serious movie. Like
the American Express card.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you need to beat people over the head with what they're going to be ready for, and
Yeah.
But this movie was meta in a very smart, hip way. It was hip, and being hip in the '90s, it was different than in the '80s, which was like all rock and roll, right? Like it was just a different, like the grunge and the '90s was a really hard time to get right. You know what I mean? Like the '80s is not that hard. Big hair, shoulder pads, rock and roll. '80s like face paint, like '80s wasn't that hard to get right. That's why there's so much charm in the '80s. But the '90s, for something in the '90s to come out and still be good today, like and still be hip today, is tough. Especially when you're talking about beepers and flip phones. But anyway, yeah, just guess what my number one is. But my number 4 is number 4. And I'm just going to spoil it right now. These movies go in order, in reverse order, 4, 3, 2, 1, because it just gets further and further away from what made the first one so special. The connection, the chemistry, the connection to the killers, the reasons why. And they got, the fourth one did get a little bit more gory and intense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Ghostface only uses a knife for the most part. Like, it's just not, you can't make the kills. The kills were never what you were there for. It's the thrills, it's the tension, it's the phone call. And so I do like that 4 tried to get a little bit back to what the first one was with the gore, like especially in the opening scene, because really, Scream has gone down with gore and suspense ever since that first scene. You know what I mean? Like it just, like, there's nothing better than that first scene in Scream. I mean, it's probably the best horror opening of all time. It's amazing. But Scream 4, yeah, like I said, chemistry's off. Old characters are not utilized very well. New characters are underdeveloped. I love Kirby. In Wes Craven's eyes, she survived, so she could be in Scream 5, even though Hayden Panettiere, I believe was her name. She, from what I understand, is doing the mom thing and doing her own thing. She's not very interested in it, but that would be a really cool thing. Also, if she became the killer and came back, I'd maybe buy that, but depending on how you play it. Scream 4 was okay. Like I said, the cinematography is just weird, and I just don't care. I don't buy that this little 120-pound gal is killing anybody or is a threat to anybody. She's standing there with the knife with Roy Culkin, and I'm looking at I'm looking at Sydney. I know she's already been stabbed, but I'm thinking she could take both these little people. Like Roy Culkin's not very big, and this 120-pound gal's not very big. Like I'm not buying her as a killer. I'm sorry. I'll buy her as insane. But I don't buy her as ever donning that and running around other than the last little bit. Anyway, I do like at the end, though, where they flip it to where she almost gets away with it. Almost feels like they should have just let her get away with it and, like, kind of flesh that out a little differently. But Dewey and Gail's relationship, like, it felt really rocky. Like, it felt like they were divorced and didn't want to have screen time together in that movie. There's just so much that the flow, it just doesn't feel earned. It doesn't feel like it was needed. It just blah. Every time I watch it, it's just blah. The only thing that's also really improved is Sydney. Like she's a BA. She establishes that she's not afraid anymore. She'll sacrifice herself. She'll run into the house without even thinking about her own safety. I don't know. Scream 4. I want to love it because it's my favorite franchise. I'm always just so disappointed because it's not anything that really pisses me off. It doesn't like, it's not like the main horror villain is sleeping with a family member and then she gets a baby and then he's after the baby trying to kill the baby. It's none of this stupid cult nonsense. Sorry, I just had to go there because it's like so dumb, and whoever wrote that should be slapped every day of the life they have. Anyway, so once again, going in reverse order, 3 is my number 3. I think the voice changer's stupid. I do love the killer. I think he's great. I think, for being a solo killer, it's cool. I like how it ties back in the first one, expands her mom. It talks about the trauma of Hollywood. It's Hollywood talking about how ugly Hollywood is, probably from the Weinsteins, because I think they were attached to this. So it's like themselves winking to themselves, and makes the movie twice as icky, twice as grounded in that ickiness. Like, you know what I mean? It just feels icky. And the way they sell that and everything else, and like the whole movie sells that trauma. You know what I mean? They even have Carrie Fisher in the movie for a minute, and she says, like, her and Carrie Fisher look the same, but guess who got the part? The girl who slept with George Lucas. Like, the whole movie's about society. But anyway, it's deeper than what most people think about, but it's not that deep. It just is. It's deeper than most people think, but it's okay. Chemistry's good between the characters, even though Sydney's not in it for like the first third of the movie. I like the going back to Woodsboro and all the movie sets and stuff like that, so that's a bit of fun. There's a little bit of tension in the movie, but a lot of the tension's removed. I like how Sydney at the end, she's got the dual pistols, so like she hits the leg one time, there's the gun, she tosses it, she's got another one, now it's your turn to scream, asshole. Like when Dewey's at the top of the stairs, he throws the knife and hits Dewey with the butt of the knife. I was like, in the theater, I was like, oh my God, he's gonna die. But I do love Scream 3 for as not perfect as it is. And then Scream 2, like I said, Scream 2, they got the chemistry. They got Randy. Randy was other than Stu, Randy was probably the fan favorite, right? Like, and you kill him off in the second movie, which is gutsy, and I applaud you for that. But after that, like, the movie was fine, but it kind of, like, the franchise suffered after that. Like, it just didn't have the energy anymore. It didn't have that link from the characters to the audience anymore. Just, we got that a little bit more with Kirby, but Kirby wasn't as, I don't know. She wasn't as animated as Jamie Kennedy. But anyway, love Scream 2. Once again, I'm not really buying that this midlife gal's doing any of this work, but I do believe that Mickey is throwing people around because he's probably 6'2" or 3", and he's built pretty well. I'll buy that. Scream 2 is good. Scream 1, I got nothing to say. It's a masterpiece, right? We just said it. Yeah. It's a masterpiece. Period. It ages well even today. Like, especially if you're a new generation, like if you're like 12 today, you probably don't realize flip phones and as much, and you don't understand beepers. You don't understand some of the callbacks. So I could see how it wouldn't be as good. It's like us growing up in the 90s watching. I think it's easier to digest watching like 78 Halloween or 80 Friday the 13th, because less technology, like from just getting rid of a cell phone is not a big deal, but getting rid of all the technology we have now and just going back to a beeper, like that would be like trying to look like us back in the day looking at people with typewriters. They're like, we get it, but really, like, a typewriter? Like, damn, how old is this movie? I don't know. It's just a masterpiece. Everything, music, score, chemistry, character development, writing, everything is fantastic in that first movie. Here's my question I want to ask you. For Scream 5, is there anything Scream 5 could do that you can think of or whatever that would adjust your franchise ranking? Do you think, is there anything they could go and undo? Anything they could expand on from the previous movies that would shift your, you know what I'm saying? Like, if we did a ranking, would Scream 5 just be inserted in your ranking, or do you think there's any way that whatever they do in Scream 5 could alter your ranking?
Not necessarily alter. I don't think it'll make Scream 2, 3, or 4 change positions much. I do think there's a couple things they could do to make Scream 5 be a second favorite. Those things include Stu, maybe bringing back the stab idea for a little bit more, I don't know, maybe. I don't want to say over the top with it, but I do think that there's meat there that that could be very. They have to keep it meta somehow, and I'm afraid that they're gonna not, and that's gonna miss the mark. I think that keeping the Stab series in it will help. I I don't know. I honestly think I don't know that they have what it takes to make the formula work and adapt the tones of the first two, I'll even say three films, into the fifth film after Wes Craven has passed and after they're probably going to have to retcon four to make it work. And
Yeah. I think something that I've been kind of kicking around in my brain because Ghostface is different, Chucky is different than a lot of the serial killers, and the fact that I think it would be kind of cool if, like in the Chucky's TV series, and for people that haven't seen that, close your ears for a
so good.
second. I thought, well, yeah, it was very good, better than I thought it was going to be. But part of me kind of wants to see like instead of Chucky doing all the killing, like Chucky comes in and kills like two people, and then but Chucky gets taken out faster to where we get new Chucky dolls and things like that. Like I would love to see like the first 15 minutes of Scream is like Dewey is a private investigator now, and he's investigating these copycat killers, and he's just like going around killing these copycat killers, or Dewey becomes like, and I don't know much about Dexter, but Dewey becomes a psycho where he's killing the copycats.
That's what Sarah Connor did in Dark Fate. Don't do that. Okay.
She did that in Dark Fate? What'd she do? Went around killing a
Sarah Connor. She figured out how they were coming into the world, and it was her duty to go around and kill them as they all came back through time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I just thought make something more fun than just the same thing of you have two killers. Like if they go back and do the script to where Stu was in jail and he was giving orders to people, right? I can't remember, The Following, I think is what it's called. They ended up using the script in another movie because of the Columbine shooting for Scream 3. So originally Stu was supposed to be in Scream 3 originally, but Columbine shooting happened and they didn't want the idea of other people following other psychotic people, so they scrapped the idea. So reinserting that would be awesome, to where he's just like, he's getting people out there to try to kill Sidney, but they keep, like, they're the dumbest people on the planet, so like Sidney has to keep killing these people, or like she's in this little protection group to where I don't know.
I do think, since Stu's house is part of it, I do think that even if he's not a part of it, maybe one of his parents are, or a sibling, or something like that, which is going to be just a huge letdown if it's not him. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
and I'm really worried that's what
to the original movie.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it has to. And I feel like my expectations are low, but also knowing that the only thing that it has to do is be better than my expectations. Like that, and that my expectations are like at the floor. So it's not going to be hard to impress me. Like if you give me like 3 good kills, I'll probably be like, yeah, this is great. This is awesome. But if Stu's in it, you're probably going to see that, oh yeah, that's I'll put that at number 2. Like it just, I don't know. It's hard because I feel like Scream is one of the few franchises that didn't deviate so badly that it ran itself into the ground. And it also somehow it stayed stable from 96 to today. That doesn't happen. Look at every other big horror franchise and how nuts they got.
It's the only horror franchise, serious horror franchise, that I know of, like big franchise. I'm not talking about like Demons 1 and Demons 2 or Pumpkinhead, or I'm talking about the top tier. It's the only top tier horror franchise that I can think of that didn't go bonkers. That didn't just like poop in its own hand, light it on fire, smear it around, and throw what's left at the wall. Like it's the one franchise that didn't go nuts.
Dude, like even in films that came out around that time, like Final Destination, it went nuts. Like what is that? What all happened here? Why did this all what? It I don't know.
Yeah, I've got part 5 on Blu-ray for you, by the way.
Oh dear God. What do I have? How many did you give me before?
I think I gave you 1, 2, 3.
I have one. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Which
so I got
still
four
really
on DVD and then 5 on Blu-ray.
Dude, so after Chucky, the TV series, Devin I'm not saying it right. The most handsome guy from 1998, and I don't care who says what, has talked about wanting to pull off a retcon of Final Destination 2. But here's the thing. The new Final Destination has been in talks for like 4 years, and it's never gotten off the ground. He might actually be able to make him do it because he's starting to come back into these films. He's even doing B-rated films, like he did that Black Friday movie.
Not Maniac. What was the one with John Travolta? That's not B-list, but was it Maniac? No.
Oh, no, Fanatic.
Fanatic, yeah.
He did Fanatic, and then he did Black Friday with Bruce Campbell and Michael Jai White. Which just,
I still haven't seen that. But yeah, no, he's fantastic.
I haven't either,
might be
but
down for that.
to.
We'll have to see. It's something where it's it's good for 2 or 3 movies, but it's not a franchise thing. Like, I mean, 3 movies is a franchise, but you know what I mean.
The first movie's really good. The second one is solid. After that, it falls to trash. And I do think that his character and What's-Her-Face's character were what made the first and second movies okay. Yeah, even though the second movie, he dies like that. But it gave motive.
Spoiler, he dies off screen.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking.
Really stupidly, spoiler. But
yeah.
It's this movie where maybe 2, but yeah, I mean, especially once you lost all the original characters and it kind of lost its hipness. It became it was like Saw. It kind of you're there for the ride, which is fine, but yeah, it really went Saw territory. But anyway, real quick, moving on. Who is your favorite character in the franchise?
Favorite character or favorite killer?
Favorite character.
Favorite character is Dewey.
Okay.
Hands down.
Is it just like his total progression, or just like what's your favorite like part of him and his?
So, his progression, also being able to see this kid fresh out of school, brand new, trying to be a cop, be a good guy. And you can see him struggling with his life over the years. And you can see, like, even in just the trailer for Scream 5, like, you're just kind of like, man, you can tell he's had it rough. And you're like, I didn't want that for Dewey. Like, that, you can say what you want about the other characters, but you're like, man, I didn't want that for him. He's the nice guy. He's the guy who, like, dove in front of things to save other people's lives, even though they have wronged him left and right. Like, so you want nothing but the best for that character. I feel like Dewey, throughout the franchise, has been my favorite character because of that. And was it Scream? I think it was Scream 2. The first time I saw it, for a minute, I really thought it was him. Like, personally. I can't remember. I think it was Scream 2. I was little. For a second, I thought he was the killer.
It was really him. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think it was Scream 2. But and the fact that they got me on that. But again, I was little. Going back, I don't feel that way as much. But when I was like, oh, it's not him. He's still the good guy. Yay! So I feel like that progression and his dedication to that character and actually the way he can act. I mean, you've seen some of his other movies. He's a goofball guy all around, but he pulls this character off like this is his legacy character. He's gonna go back and he's gonna be like, okay, I'm this age, I'm doing this, and I got my beginnings from being that kid who just wanted to do good things and happened to fall in love with a news anchor that I always was attracted to, and like this is how bad life got since then. Like that he does a great job with that. How about you?
Yeah, it'd be crazy, dude, if they killed off Sydney and Gale in like the middle of the movie, and like at the end of the movie he loses everything, and like they set it up for a sequel, and it's just him being wrecked chasing after the killer in the next movie, right? Like he just like the killer won't kill him. It's just like you know what I mean? Like somebody's got to survive from the original to carry on the torment or whatever. Like because he has the acting chops and the range, and like yeah, he's been kind of like his character's been kicked all the way. Yeah, I mean it would kind of fit in line with his trajectory of just yeah the good guy that just couldn't get everything going all the way. You know what I mean? Just couldn't quite. Yeah, I mean he became the
Yeah.
sheriff in the fourth one, so I mean he was doing okay, but in this one it doesn't look like he's working. But yeah, I think had Randy lived in the second movie, I think that Randy would probably be my favorite. But I
Yeah.
think yeah I think yeah I think yeah well I really do like Randy.
I
No,
mean,
Dewey's my favorite.
we both do because we're movie nerds and we want to go with his
Right.
character because he's the perfect embodiment of what a meta 90s movie needed and he did great with it. And he's almost my first choice too, but I yeah, it's got to be Dewey. Like
Yeah.
his
It just
story
is,
arc
and that's why I
is
think like if
amazing.
that's what I'm saying. If Dewey dies in this new movie, man, I can see Sydney to a degree because she's been there and done that. Like Dewey's always been, he's never been the star. It's never been about Dewey. Like there's always things happening and he has to react to them. Like yeah, I'm trying to think. Like he's always a background character. Like if you push him to the front, well, and you can say the same thing about Gale, but I don't know. They're just so. Yeah, I think you could do more. But anyway, yeah, I definitely mind the
Yeah.
boyish charms. The hero that just can't quite get it together is kind of a mess. You know, he's kind of the opposite of Ghostface, where Ghostface kind of struggles to kill people. He kind of struggles to save people. Like he gets hurt more than he helps. But he's also come in and saved the day a couple times. Like in the third movie, and even in the first movie, is just a distraction sometimes. Like for Gale in the second movie, and blah blah blah. Um, Figures it out in the fourth movie. Anyway, I love the actor, I love the character, so definitely. But that leads me into my next question for you, which will there's one more question, but I want to get to this one first because I just talked about it. When, at if at all, do you think Randy should have died? Do you think he died at the right time? Should he have never died? What do you think?
So this is a tough one because I would love to have him in the series more, but at the same time, I can see why they made the decision when they did. I mean, I feel like it'd be another staple that by this point we'd feel kind of worn out and exhausted by. Um, he he's this he's the comedic Loomis to the Scream franchise, but at the same time, Scream 4 just wouldn't have been. I don't think the movie it was with him. Scream 3, yeah, yeah, that could have worked. I don't know. I almost want to say that he died at the right time.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's rough.
it had all of them lived. It had all of them lived at the end of the second movie. You'd have been like, really? Where you brought in brand new
What was the
characters and
point?
killed them all? Like, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how I would have gotten around that, but I know I would not have killed Jamie Kennedy in that second movie. I would have killed him probably in the third movie. I don't know.
It was fortune telling
It's
for what
tough.
he did in Son of the Mask.
Uh, yeah, yeah. It's well, and I don't like the way he went out either. It felt like such a like it broad daylight getting pulled into a van. It just felt so lame. Like, really, this is how you do it?
that
Like,
the way he went out was cheap and awful. But
yeah.
at the same time, it's not really worse than Halloween Kills or Halloween H2O did Marilyn Chambers.
I don't know. Marilyn Chambers went down fighting in H2O. Like her death wasn't too bad in H2O. It was bad in kills.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. Who could you? Because you needed to kill somebody to bring some levity. You know, I probably would have killed. I would have brought in um, Liv Schreiber as Cotton. Would have brought him in earlier. But he needed some time to develop too. It's tough, man. I think they made the right call, but I don't like it. I probably would have waited till the third movie. But all right, moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on. I probably would have waited till the third movie, but next question. I'm beating you to death because, like I said, this is my favorite franchise. Who is your favorite killer?
Stu.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was kind of doing a little bit of research today, just seeing what like different bigger review sites, what their rankings were and stuff. And almost everybody put Billy as number one. And that blew my mind. Because yeah, his character makes the most sense for it. Like it's the most logical. But Stu's like the crazy friend who just wants to be around and it doesn't matter what that thing is. And that's super weird and interesting. Plus his over the top, like, you hit me with the phone, dick. Like it was perfect. It was, my mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me.
Oh my god! I love when hello. Did you really call the police? Yeah, like it just sounded so innocent. What are you gonna? What's your motive? Pure pressure. I'm far too sensitive. Like he just like the spit while he's going nuts. Like lingering on Billy and like in that almost like sensual way, like where they're like just getting off on each other and how much they both love what they're doing. Like both of them just killed it. And that's why I think anybody else but Stu coming back, it just doesn't. You can expand on that. You can make something bigger on that. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could somehow tie that into where like Stu is actually trying to date Sydney's mom too, or something. I don't know, but he always, he says I had a thing for you at the end. But yeah, I think my favorite my favorite killer is probably. God dang. It's probably Stu, but I really do love Billy. I will say I love how even keel he is the whole time. He yells one time. He's like, I don't need a motive to kill you, but here's a motive. Like this is what set it off. This is the chain of events that made this happen. And he's just so cool and creepy and enjoying it. And then Stu and Billy, they elevate each other because the way they play off each other, the chemistry between those two is just fantastic. I think it's Stu, but Billy's right there. I think if Stu, it's what 2 minutes had Matthew Lillard not just owned those 2 minutes, you'd be like, Stu who? Like who is the other killer? You would have no clue. A lot of that, like I don't know if you know this, but a lot of that was ad-libbed by him. Like he made up his own lines because Williamson didn't really write lines for him very much. So he just made up his own lines and expanded on Stu to where he was this intense character. So the only reason Matthew Lillard got it is because he was intense and he brought that character to life. So without him, the movie wouldn't be what it is today. I mean, it would drop from probably a 10 to a 9, 9.5, which isn't huge, but it's that little extra that makes it that masterpiece. The difference between extraordinary and ordinary, that little extra. But now who's the best killer?
The best killer? Oh, man. That's rough. That's probably either got to go to Charlie or Mickey.
Who's the best?
I mean, the most successful, that'd probably be Charlie, wouldn't it?
Well, that's not my pick, but, I mean, you do you.
I mean, I prefer Mickey. But I feel like Charlie was ridiculously successful.
No, yeah, he was good. Had a lot of good kills, but I feel like also they had a really good chemistry, not like a chemistry, but the they wanted to do this to be famous. They had things planned out. They felt more strategic than some of the other killers.
Yeah.
Rory Culkin and what's her name. They just felt very strategic. Yeah, no, I'm actually going to say that I think the best killer is actually Roman from 3. He does everything by himself. He sets it up from the beginning. He has to make all the calls and move.
Yeah.
He has a bulletproof vest. He has multiple knives.
Or I'm sorry. I totally mixed those two up. That's who I meant. God, I'm so exhausted. Sorry. Yes. I mixed up names. Yes. God, sorry. Yeah,
No, you're fine.
He was the most successful. Like, he took people out. He did it all solo. He did his research. He waited. For me, it's between him and Mickey, and the only reason Mickey's up there is you have to admit that end scene with him is he does a good job. Like, he's freaky. But yeah, Roman. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now we're saying Roman is the best killer. Okay. Now, who is the best ghost-faced voice? Think of the ghost-faced voice in the first movie, the second, the third, the fourth. Which one sticks out to you, and who do you think is the best? Because each movie is a little different.
The first movie sticks out to me the most, and I don't know which killer, because it's both of them. Like, I don't know necessarily which one's which when they make the calls. But I'm gonna.
Man, you're gonna go with the first one?
Yeah.
Man, I mean, it's the first one, so it's classic, and nobody would ever hold that against you. But I gotta go with Scream 2. When you listen to him in Scream 2, or heard whoever's talking, I'm assuming it's the mom, but when she's like, have you ever felt a knife scrape the bone? Like talking about like, hey Cece, do you want to die tonight? Like that intensity, like you could feel that this Ghostface killer was out for revenge. Like there's multiple times in the movie when they talk, it's like, it's just, I mean, the first one is scary to see what your insides look like. Like that's scary. It's creepy, right? It's psychotic. But in the second movie, it's mean and scary. It's like, have you ever felt the knife scrape the bone? Like, God dang, like, oh.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I do love the first one. I want to gut you like a fish and see like see what your insides look like. There's a lot of good ones in the first movie, but the second movie to me stands out as the meanest. I think 4 was probably the most playful because it was like they were excited about doing it, right? They were excited about being a part of it.
Yeah.
But there is a spot in Scream 4 where I can't remember exactly how he says it, but I'm gonna slit your eyes up and down so that way you can't even close your eyes when I'm killing you or something like that. I can't remember the exact quote, but like that's intense. I really hope they bring some of that back for this
Yeah.
newest movie. It's like this like talking to you over the phone and telling you how I'm gonna hurt you, like not kill you necessarily, hurt you.
That's some Wes Craven beauty there. That's the type of thing that he did
Right,
with Freddy in the original movie
right.
and Wes Craven's New Nightmare in Part 3 that like made Freddy stand out. God, I love that. I really do love that because you don't get that with Jason, Michael, Leatherface. I mean, arguably, I would say Chucky does it the best, but that's just because, I mean, his voice, Chucky being Chucky, that's super just fun and awesome.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Um, but I'm gonna gut you like a fish. God, that's a classic line. It's a classic
It
line.
is it is classic. I don't know, I just love how mean it is in the second movie.
That's
It just
fair.
feels mean.
That's fair.
Okay, let's see real quick. No, hang on. Do you do you think the movie intentionally meant to be like Scooby Doo, where the main gang isn't really in any danger? That it's always like, oh, it was, and I would have
Yeah,
succeeded too if it wasn't for these kids. Like, I I don't
I
know
do.
if it ever was
Um,
really meant to be that though. Like originally, it became that, but I don't know.
I I think that was part of the meta vibe. Like you had your core group of people, and those people were meant to survive. And if there was a sequel, they were going to helm that as well. Of course, to keep the stakes high since it's horror, somebody's going to die. But I feel like it knew that it was going to have that comparison. Because I've always felt a Scooby Doo vibe with all the Scream movies. Like the unmasking, there's a. Okay, so there's Scary Movie, and then there's Shriek, if you know what you did last Friday the 13th, or what. Super
Right.
long name that was like straight to DVD and VHS. I think it got a very limited theatrical release. If you're one of the few people that actually got to see it, like myself, and I'm guessing John, by the way he's nodding, um,
No, I've seen the
there's
cover,
this.
but I've never watched it.
Okay, so it's just like Scary Movie. It came out at like the exact same time. It's like two people having the same idea to parody Scream and all these other movies, and it's the same concept. When they get to the killer, they're sitting on like the staircase, and they've got their version of Ghostface, and they're pulling off a mask, and there's another mask, and pulling off a mask, and there's another pulling off a mask, and it's you could put the Scooby Doo music there, and it's perfect. And like they cut to a different scene and cut back, and there's just like this. They're like up to their chest in masks, and it's absolutely goofy ridiculousness that I feel like it's got that vibe. There is a Scooby Doo vibe, and I don't hate that. I really don't. Like I wasn't the biggest Scooby Doo fan growing up, but it is nostalgic. Like I am totally down to feel a Scooby Doo vibe. This is cool.
Yeah, yeah, but I think that's also why I'm afraid that if they kill off one of the main characters, it'll lose some of that flavor and that fun vibe. Um,
But also, how
yeah,
would you keep us interested, like on continuing if these three are all unkillable for another trilogy or something? Like, I mean, you would have to have a very good story for the killer then, um, if the stakes aren't that high to make everybody want to keep watching.
yeah. Hey, Caleb, ask me now. Now you ask me, does it piss me off that we are going into the 5th movie with Sidney Prescott being the main target, and she rolls up to this house with a jacket and jeans and a V-neck shirt? Ask me if that pisses me off. If she's not a Sarah Connor, Laurie Strode character from Halloween 18. You ask me if that pisses me off. Just ask me.
So it obviously does. And my thought was, if she's so gung-ho like she was in Scream 4, bro, bulletproof vest, grab yourself a shoddy, like let's go ahead and World War Z this. We're gonna have an arsenal. We're gonna be armed like Rambo. We are going into battle. Like, why? It doesn't make sense.
This is the 5th time. No, this is the 5th time that Gale and her are going through it. The 5th time they've seen people killed.
Yeah.
The 5th time, and they just roll up, and Gale has like a little white tee on and a little V-neck blue shirt, and like what? Like, how are you not going in there with like football pads on and bulletproof vests and like helmets, SWAT gear, tear gas? Like, how are you just showing up at this house so ill prepared? Like they are going up into this house like they're going to eat somebody else's free CC's pizza. Like, I just don't understand. Like,
I do get that they're, if they don't kill one of those 3, they're going to get them so injured that you think they're dead until the last scene where they're being loaded up in an ambulance or something. And if you armor them all to the teeth, you're not going to feel that nervousness while in the moment, but it makes absolutely no sense. If this event kept happening to you over and over and over again, and you knew that the best way to survive is to have armor and have weapons and have a working knowledge of like self-defense and stuff like that, you're not going to show up in a jacket, a t-shirt, blue jeans, tennis shoes, and maybe a 6-shooter. Like, that's just not that's it doesn't make sense.
It worked. It worked a little bit for 4 because she was there to do a book signing, but at the same time, you're in Woodsboro. Like, you're going to the Lion's Den. Like, you also just would always have a gun on you. Like, in the 3rd one, at least she has mace on her. And she has a gun in her house, but she doesn't. If I remember, she might have the gun with her, but she doesn't. Like, when she is in the stall in the 3rd movie and she hears a noise, she goes for the mace, not the gun. So it makes me think she didn't take the gun with her. Like, if there's any character, like Laurie Strode in 2018 only went through this one night. Laurie Strode in Halloween H2O only went through it one night. Two movies, but one night. She wasn't that well prepared in H2O, but she had a gun and like she immediately went for it. She was in a teacher, warrior mode right at the end. Like, right? Like, I just don't understand how this. Because she gets called and she goes to town for it. Like, don't you think the police would be like, stay away from here?
Even the dude in Friday the 13th Part 4 showed up with a shotgun.
And a machete that he gets killed with.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
He's killing me!
He spoils it for you. Yeah, he's killing me. Oh,
he
God.
does.
Oh, my God. But yeah, I just wanted to say that because it just, like, from the trailer, I was like, what the, like,
I do appreciate that. I'm Sidney Prescott, I have a gun.
Right, but if you're showing up, you're gonna show up like Neo from when he walks in the first Matrix movie, and like he goes to the beeper. It's like, oh, discard any change, and he opens up and it's just like gun, 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 gun. Like come on.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, we talked about when we did our commentary for Halloween 18. Like, what can you imagine if Laurie went in there like Ripley, where she has like a gun and a flamethrower, like she's burning down her house from room to room where there's nowhere for him to hide, and he comes out of the flames on fire on her or something like that. That's a way to flesh him out. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It would have been probably too much because, like, if you would have had that trap and then you would have had a trap downstairs and a lot of fire, it would have been a lot of the same exact thing. But like, they sell flamethrowers. You can, like, I don't think you can just walk around in public with a flamethrower, but you can own a flamethrower in Kansas. I don't know about Illinois or wherever the hell they are, but it just annoys me that you just bring some little pistol and you're like, let's go do this. Like,
Real quick, since we're touching Halloween again, did you watch that pitch meeting I sent you for Halloween Kills? And he's like, "Oh, so we didn't account for the firefighters." No, she did not.
No, I didn't see that. I don't know if I got it. I must have missed that one. But no, well, yeah, that's dumb too. Like, what? Michael Myers would be dead. Like smoke inhalation, the heat, he's dead. Like, she shouldn't have to figure out the firefighters.
But even still, it's like, oh, she didn't account for the fact that it's literally their job to save somebody's life who's trapped in a burning down house. Oh, okay. Like, there was no account for that. Right,
but I think
that
house would be on fire for at least 5-ish minutes, and the flames were in the basement. Like, I know he's behind the door, but the movie answers some questions that actually do make 18 and, well, it make the original 18 and it better. By making him supernatural, you can kind of swallow the fact that he got shot 6 times and got up. You can kind of swallow the fact that he survived the fire. Like, I don't like the new direction that they're taking it in, but it does kind of help everything else.
I have something I want to talk to you about with that, but I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know if I want to spoil it. I don't know that it is necessarily a spoiler. But I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it. Well, it's a fan theory that was apparently brought up, I believe, by David Gordon Green. The fact that the supernatural is going to be tied into something in Haddonfield, and that something is. Do you mind? Yeah. And then I just, why are we here? How? This isn't Halloween 4. Like, why are we doing this again?
David Gordon Green is on record multiple times for saying that he doesn't want people to see the magic trick, like how it's done. Like, he wants to toe the line between human and supernatural, and he doesn't want to tell you the motivations. But yet he's laying it out there. It's the same thing where, like, he's saying, he's gone on record saying Michael Myers is not supernatural at the end of Halloween Kills. Spoiler for Halloween Kills. God, I feel we need to do better about warning on spoilers, but
no, but he's
gone on record. He's full on.
There's no way
I just don't want to hear it anymore. There's not. And it's funny because, like, some directors are so, they don't, it's weird that they don't have the finger of the pulse of their own movie. Some people, like the guy who directed Sopranos, the series or whatever. A lot of people are like, oh, he's just a guy that always asks, or, has a bunch of things, questions, and never answers them. No, like, there is an answer if you actually want to pay attention and just go with what it's giving you. You could fight it. Like, it's 90% this way. If you want the 10%, then go live in that world of 10%. But it is what it is. I just didn't spoon feed you. I made it theatrical. Some directors can do that, and some other directors don't have a clue of their own movie. And it's like, Are you not watching this movie? Have you not seen all the other Halloween movies? Like, it just kills me. It just kills me. Anyway, yeah, way back on. Yeah, we got back to Halloween. We always do, but yeah, yeah. All right, man. Anything you got, go for it. I think I'm actually out.
Who do you think is the worst killer? Like, hands down, the worst. It could be just because they're your least favorite or because they sucked at it the most.
I don't know, man. I'm probably gonna say that. Probably gonna say that Jill is my least favorite
Yeah.
killer. I'm not.
I
I'm
was
not
gonna say
buying the
somewhere.
120-pound gal.
I say Jill. Like, okay, so there's two sides to the Jill thing. Like, I've been around social media enough to see the person in real life who does not care how they get famous, even if it is by murder. That makes sense. That shoe fits the pulse of society. But at the same time, she's not going to go hand-to-hand combat with Dewey. Like, Dewey's got 60 pounds and some training on her. Easy. Easy. It wouldn't make sense. So she would at least have to send what's his name? Charlie, the one that I screwed up the names earlier, to go fight. Like, there's just no way. She's not taking out all of these people. I don't know.
I don't even really buy Charlie is flinging Olivia. Olivia is the gal that is in the bedroom and it gets like severely opened up and like the intestines are out and everything. I don't buy that he's throwing her around. Like, he's probably 5'8". Like, he's probably 160 pounds maybe. I don't buy that he's throwing people around or going toe to toe with Sydney or Gail or I think Gail would bitch smack him. Like, excuse me, but like I just don't buy them. They're not intimidating at all. Like, it kills
Okay.
me. Like, yeah, but Jill, I just, and I will say, because I said earlier that the family tie is the thing that really puts the movies together. And I know that Jill is her cousin, her mom's sister's daughter, right? Cousin? Yeah, cousin. Is second cousin? Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not enough, and it doesn't tie in enough. It's a weak excuse. Like you said, I get it, but Mickey already did it to be famous in the second movie. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it just, I don't know.
Oddly enough, I think, and I'll ask you this too. I think Mickey is probably my third favorite. I think it goes Stu, Billy, Mickey.
Billy, Mickey.
Yeah, because he was just
Mickey,
so.
yeah, Mickey, yeah.
Yeah, he took the screen so well. I haven't seen Scream 2 in a couple years, but every time that I watch it, like, I remember I was actually, it's been more than a couple years. Wow, it's been probably 5 years. I had just moved into the house in Mission, and I was setting up the spare room because we were going to have sister-in-law come and stay with us. And I had my phone set up, and I was setting up the bed, and I was watching Scream 2, like, in the background. And it got to the taxi scene, and I sat down and I watched the rest of. I like at that point, like, undivided attention. Every time Scream 2 is in, I can, like, background noise that first chunk, but as soon as we're there, it's like I am glued to the screen. Like, from then on, his presence really, really, really makes that movie great. So yeah, I gotta give him third.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, Stu, then Billy, then Roman, then Mickey. Yeah, probably, and then I would probably put Billy's mom. and then I would probably put Rory, and then I would put uh,
Billy's
Jill.
mom is hard for
Yeah,
me. I feel like she was more the brains than the brawn. Like,
right. She was.
I don't know. She feels like Megamind.
Right. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. You can feel Mickey being unhinged at the end of that movie, and like just letting his guard down because he's just living his moment. Everything's coming in. He's gonna be famous, and then you can feel the rage from the mom, and you can feel like, well, she's living it, she's enjoying it, she's gonna kill off her accomplice and walk away free after getting her revenge. I do buy it. A lot of people say that the ending's a little chintzy, a little goofy, but I really like the ending to Scream 2. But yeah,
It is a little goofy, but I feel like with the Scream movies, like they're all a little goofy in their own way. Like it
oh yeah,
just it is. Scream 4 took itself way too seriously, and I think that is 90% of that movie's problem. Is it tried to be that super serious tone movie, which sucks because there are things about it that I really like. Like I said earlier, that the fact that they were like, you know what, we're not going to reboot it, we're going to sequel it. And, the time it came out, everything was a reboot, remake, reimagining, and we're still in the middle of that. Like, how many times are we going to retcon Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 on? Like,
right.
holy crap, this is the third
Think
time.
about think about this. What if they would have done like for Scream 5, like a new stab movie's coming out, and they do a somewhere they have like not a Comic-Con, but like a little panel about the survivors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like you know, say that the survivors are endorsing this movie, and that money is going towards something good to help with something, you know what I mean, for a good cause or something like that, right? Like they sign off on it, or
Yeah.
the movies have become not horror anymore, to where it's all fun, you know what I mean? It's more of an action than it is maybe it's a parody to where the good guys just kick the crap out of Ghostface, and then like so all the survivors are on stage, and then the lights go out, and then stuff happens. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how you'd keep it contained and keep a whole movie on that.
Yeah.
I just think like somehow to keep them all together and keep it small, instead of like, hey, there's a killing, we all have to come back together to stop it. Don't worry about the cops. Like,
And that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to do the same thing that they've done from 2 on. Like, and the trailer gave that away. Like, hey, the murders are happening again. And it just also, because we saw the same trailer, the opening scene to the trailer is a complete rip of the first movie. The first movie's opening scene, and I know that that's going to be the opening scene to Scream 5, and I feel like don't do it. Like, please tell me that that's one of those reshoots, that because they filmed apparently a bunch of edits so that nobody really knows what's actually going to happen with the movie, which, if that's true, that will make for a very, very interesting physical media release. I mean, how many cuts of the film could you have? That's awesome. It's
yeah,
really
alternate
awesome.
endings would be sweet if they kept that. Yeah, yeah. You know, I, you know, if they do something meta and they use the characters as themselves, or the characters are shooting a movie inside the movie, kind of a thing, like, okay, I'll buy it. It is what it is. But the trailer should have had music like from the original movie, so you can get that tie-in that you need in today's world. Everything has to be about the original, because always, for the most part, the original is always the best. That trailer, however many there are, I've only seen the first trailer, should have had only clips of Ghostface, side shots. It should have had no dialogue, and it should have ended with what's your favorite scary movie? Boom, that's it. You know what I mean? Or what's your favorite stab movie or something like like why wouldn't like the killer should say that because there's been so many stab movies. The stab movies are a bigger deal now than the actual events. You know what I mean? Like start killing the people that were starring in the stab movies. You know what I mean? Like make that a spin-off. You know what I mean? Like do something like that. Anyway,
That
it should not have
that would have
given
made more sense for the
anything away.
TV show. That would have
Yep,
made a
there you
whole
go.
lot more sense for the TV show. Um,
That would have been
that would have
sweet.
had my undivided attention actually, because it fits in the universe. It doesn't have to be its own thing or be it. You can plug it in or unplug it just fine. Like, and that's something that since Scream 2 or 3, I've kind of always been on board for is why can't we get more stab information? Why can't we get maybe even a stab movie? Just like, like let's just do it. Let's see where it goes. Let's see what happens. Like it could be interesting. I think that the problem is people would again take it too seriously and pull a Scream 4.
Yeah. Dude, how awesome would it be if the trailers that we saw were 100% fake? Like had nothing to do with the
I
movie other than like the main cast.
So, there was a time where a lot of movies were showing scenes that didn't make the final cut. Like, they still do it today,
Right.
but I know Freddy versus Jason was one of them. There was, God, I can't remember exactly what movie, but one that made me so mad when I was a kid because I was looking forward to seeing the scene in the movie, and it's not the movie and it's not the deleted scenes. I'll
The
think of it one day.
the Hulk in Infinity War, he's running with everybody else, and he's not in, and the Hulk is not in Infinity War after the first 15 minutes. Like he's not in that scene at all. Period. So like they
Yeah.
shot scenes to literally throw people off and edited it.
Before House of a Thousand Corpses finished or actually got green lit because Rob Zombie worked with multiple different studios trying to get it off the ground, there was a trailer and it was just like this in the middle of the woods. There was a bunch of shallow graves that were dug and it was just raining and lightning and it was in black and white. It was Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. Black Xmas is another good one. We just covered that recently. The trailer for it, not a single thing to do with the actual movie. They released the trailer and then they wrote the script and then they filmed the movie. So that's fun. But if they did that with this, that would be really interesting because I have read that there were not necessarily reshoots, but that they shot different scenes multiple different ways. I don't know how true that is, but if it is true, it's an interesting way to make it so the cast can't spill the beans, the crew can't spill the beans, and we might not get anything that was in the trailer in the movie. That said, I did like Dewey in the trailer. I felt Dewey in the trailer.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's your opinion on spoilers for Scream 5? Like a lot of people for like Spider-Man, it was like 3-4 days and like they were just spoiling everything. For Halloween Kills, it was maybe about 5 days. Like everything else doesn't have very many spoilers and stuff that I can think of that were recent anyway. The most recent ones are, but ones I've seen that I've been interested in. But how many days do you think for Scream 5?
I predict Scream 5 spoilers will be posted within a day or two because the thing with Scream is everybody's going to want to know who the killer or killers are, and people can't not. They're going to be like, I'm going to rank my ghost face killers. Just like left and right, left and right. And I feel it kind of sucks because yeah, there was this whole like movement about don't spoil Spider-Man. And it's been that way with most Marvel movies. There's a huge like please don't spoil it. I can't go see it this weekend. Like, and people are totally cool with that. With Halloween 2018, that was not the case. it was spoiled next day. With Halloween Kills, it really was a few days before people started posting like the big spoilers for the movie, which, I mean, I kind of saw coming anyways, which that sucks. I feel like people didn't
Yeah.
spoil Candyman,
Well,
which,
Candyman though had such a low expectation and didn't have a whole lot of love for, didn't have a lot of returning characters and things like that. So like, I mean, you can't really.
but
I
the
mean, it kind of
trailer,
spoiled itself. Like,
yeah, the trailer spoiled itself, which sucked because it was the logical step to take, but they didn't have to spoon feed it to you. That would have been cool to see in the theater instead of in the trailer.
see, when I go to see a movie, like, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, I never saw that coming," or a lot of people are like, "Yeah, I saw that coming in 5 minutes." When I go and watch a movie, I'm the first time I watch it, I just let it take me. I'm not digging at anything. I'm not. I mean, if there's a cool shot, I'll like really just like wow and take in that shot. But I don't look for things. I'm not trying to figure out anything. Same thing for the most part. I like with Scream 4 and 3. It wasn't like I was paying attention to the characters, but I wasn't ripping myself out of the movie to try to find it real quick because I'm so smart. Every single Scream movie has had a red herring to where it could have easily been this person or that person. It doesn't really matter. You know, I mean, it matters at the end, but they could have written it
Yeah.
any way they wanted to make it work. So don't get lost in trying to figure out the villain. Focus on the movie that's happening, and then later on go back and pay attention and let sink in. The only time like I hate it like when we went and watched Spiral, we're like we were in there for a few minutes. We're like, really, bro? Like this is it? This is the movie? This is the best you got? Like this hasn't been
Yeah.
done 1,000 times? Like, come on.
What? Yeah, and that kills me when the movie's that easy that it's if you have a movie that you are supposed to figure something out, if you spoon feed all of that information within the first 30 minutes so that by that 30-minute to 45-minute mark, you know without a doubt the twist, you don't have a good movie. You just don't.
Right.
Like, especially on a franchise that was built on the twist. Like the first three movies, the twist was the thing. Four's where it kind of started to teeter off into way out here. But the first Saw twist, nuts. Second Saw twist, nuts. Third Saw twist, way over the top nuts. And Spiral was like
Five
there
and
was no twist.
yeah, 5 and 7 had a good one. Jigsaw had a decent one. They had a pretty good one. Yeah, it's I don't know, man. Like this is why like this is what I'm gonna talk to you now about is like going to see Scream, man. I kind of want to go opening night because otherwise I literally will have to. I'll have to go. I'll have to ghost off everything because there's no way. Like I hate following movie groups that like it. And I get it. You have a big enough movie group, you're gonna spoil things. I eventually I get it, but man, you got to give it at least a solid week, weekend to weekend. Give people a chance to get out there. Like it.
Yeah. No, I would love to. I can't make Thursdays work. Like being out and about late and all that, and coming home late, and that's what sucks. Also, I don't know. Like the red carpet event got pushed back. Morbius got pushed back. There's a chance that they're gonna push Scream back too.
I don't know, man.
I'm
It is right there. I mean, it is a week away. I don't know. I don't know. I, but everything is snowballing so fast, faster than it's
Yep.
ever snowballed before. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I selfishly, I'm gonna say that I hope that it stays there, and I hope they come up with some deal to where they can make their money back by they sell it to somewhere to where they can make their money back. Like these big franchises cannot survive if they cannot make big money. They just can't. Like I don't know. But some franchises like this, might need a little bit more breathing room, might need a little bit more room to develop characters, maybe Netflix and whatnot's the place to go. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like that's a movie that probably doesn't deserve a theater run anymore because the love for the franchise to the average person is dead. Like you need it on Netflix to where it's so convenient. People are like, oh yeah, I'll give the new Texas Chainsaw. I don't owe any money on it. I can easily turn it off if I don't like it. I think like Texas Chainsaw is perfect for, and not in my opinion. I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Scream might be my favorite franchise. Yeah. Texas Chainsaw Massacre might be my favorite horror movie of all time. Thanks for watching, guys. Till next time, we're out of here.
Peace.